Many years ago, I found myself deeply in love with someone who seemed distant, unattainable, occupied by the world and its distractions. Yet, within me, there stirred a quiet certainty that I could reach them not through words, not through gestures, but through imagination itself. Each night before sleep, I entered the silence. I imagined this person thinking of me, smiling as if my presence filled their mind. I heard their voice calling my name in the secret corridors of consciousness. And though the senses denied it, I persisted. Within weeks, their messages came, soft, sincere, and filled with longing. They confessed they had been thinking of me constantly, as if I had never left their thoughts. My imagination had traveled to them, speaking in the only language that transcends distance, feeling. So I tell you now, they only want you when you assume that they already do. The moment you occupy the state of being desired, loved, and chosen, the world reorganizes itself to reflect that assumption. To assume the state of being loved is to occupy a dimension of consciousness where the desire is already realized. It is not an effort of the intellect, but a surrender of the heart. Most people wait for evidence before they feel loved. They wait for a message, a gesture, a word from the other. Yet the creative power does not respond to waiting. It responds to being. When you assume you are already loved, when you feel yourself chosen and desired, you shift the entire structure of your reality. The world mirrors your inner conviction. It cannot do otherwise, for reality is consciousness expressed. To assume is to accept as true what the senses deny. It is to walk through the world with a quiet certainty that what you imagine is already fact. You no longer seek proof, because the feeling itself is the proof. Imagine closing your eyes tonight and knowing beyond doubt that you are the beloved. You feel their affection as a present reality. You sense their thoughts bending toward you. You hear the soft rhythm of their devotion echoing in your heart. That feeling, sustained and nurtured, becomes the cause of everything that will follow. When I speak of assumption, I speak of a sacred act of creation. It is not make-believe. It is the deliberate acceptance of an invisible truth until the outer world conforms to it. You are not pretending. You are remembering. Every state already exists. To assume the state of being loved is to remember that you have always been loved in the divine imagination. You only needed to awaken to it. The mind that still doubts, that questions and measures, will resist this truth. But the feeling mind, the heart that dares to believe, will experience it. There was a time when I too doubted. I believed love depended on another's actions, that I must be chosen by their will. But then I discovered that love is not drawn from the outer world, it radiates from within. The outer is but the reflection of the inner assumption. The moment I began to feel myself loved without asking how, or when faces changed, words were spoken, and the world arranged itself to echo that feeling. People appeared as mirrors to my new conception of self. This is the law of consciousness. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are aware of being. The act of assuming the state of being loved requires persistence, for the outer world will, for a time, contradict it. The senses will whisper that nothing has changed. The old self will try to claim authority. But your task is to hold the inner conviction. To assume is to remain faithful to the unseen reality, even while appearances mock it. Faith is loyalty to the unseen. Each time you return to the feeling of being loved, you reaffirm your creative power. You water the seed that must bloom. To educate oneself in this practice is to learn the language of feeling. Words may declare love, but feelings create it. The subconscious mind receives feeling as command. It does not reason, it accepts. When you feel love, regardless of circumstances, the subconscious moves heaven and earth to make it visible. This is why assumption must be emotional, not mechanical. If you repeat affirmations without the feeling of their reality, you are speaking to a closed door. But if you feel their truth even for a moment, the door opens, and the world rushes to fulfill it. Assume the tone of the wish fulfilled. Let your body relax as one who already has the thing desired. Let your mind rest in gratitude. Gratitude implies possession. It is the evidence of completion. As you walk through the day, refuse to entertain thoughts of absence or longing. Speak inwardly as one who is already secure in love. Say to yourself, I am cherished. I am adored. I am the chosen one, not as a demand, but as a declaration of being. In time, this feeling becomes natural, and when it feels natural, it must externalize. There is no force in the universe that can oppose a sustained assumption. Every event, every meeting, every coincidence is drawn into harmony with the dominant state of consciousness. The moment you occupy the state of being loved, those who come into your world are compelled to play the parts necessary to confirm it. They cannot act otherwise, for you have already assigned them their roles through your inner conviction. You are the playwright, and life merely performs your script. Do not confuse assumption with arrogance. To assume the state of being loved is not to force another's will, but to recognize that love is a universal current flowing through consciousness. You are aligning with it, not manipulating it. When you radiate love, you awaken it in others. What you give inwardly, you receive outwardly. The assumption of love blesses both the giver and the receiver, for they are one consciousness appearing as two. In teaching yourself this principle, begin gently. Each morning, before the noise of the world intrudes, close your eyes and feel the warmth of love surrounding you. Do not imagine a face if it distracts you. Imagine the feeling itself, that deep security, that joyful certainty. Let it expand until it fills your entire being. Walk into your day with that invisible aura. Speak to others from the awareness that you are already loved. The tone of your voice will change. Your posture will shift, your energy will radiate differently. Without effort, people will respond in kind, for you have altered the atmosphere of your world. If ever doubt arises, remember that all creation begins in the unseen. You cannot dig up a seed to check if it grows. You must trust its unseen work. So too with your assumption. Hold it quietly, faithfully, and allow time to reveal its fruit. The feeling of being loved is the seed. Persistence is the sunlight, faith is the soil. Together they produce the inevitable harvest. To assume the state of being loved is to reclaim your creative authority. You cease to be a beggar of affection and become its source. You no longer wonder who will love you. You know that love expresses itself through every form around you. When you live from that awareness, others will find themselves drawn irresistibly to you. They will say, "I cannot stop thinking of you," not knowing that it was your assumption that whispered their desire into being. This is the sacred science of consciousness. Feel it first, and it must appear. The invisible act of assuming is the invisible conversation between you and the universe. When you feel loved, the world cannot help but love you back. To create inner conversations is to understand that every word spoken in the silence of your mind is a seed planted in the fertile soil of consciousness. These inner words are not idle. They are creative acts, charged with feeling and intention. The outer world, with all its movement and expression, is but the shadow of these inner dialogues. What you whisper within yourself becomes the loudest voice in your reality. You are in constant conversation with the unseen, not merely with yourself, but with the very fabric of existence. Every thought, every feeling, every imagined exchange is recorded in the infinite mind and reflected back as the events, people, and experiences you encounter. When you desire to be loved, to be chosen, to become the priority of another, you must first speak that reality into being within your imagination. It is not the outer conversation that matters most. It is the inner one, for the outer follows the inner as surely as day follows night. The words you speak aloud may be polite or uncertain, but what you affirm in silence is what creation obeys. You can say, "I am loved," with your lips and yet feel forgotten in your heart, and the feeling will always outweigh the phrase. But if you speak within, in imagination, with emotion, with conviction, the unseen world bends to the tone of that inner voice. The mind is a stage upon which all creation begins. Every character you meet in life first speaks their lines within your consciousness. To change the play, you must rewrite the script. The inner conversation is your script. If you wish for someone to adore you, do not wait for their call or their confession. Go within and hear it now. Hear them saying, "I can't stop thinking about you. You are always on my mind." Feel the sincerity in their imagined voice. Sense the warmth of that confession as if it was spoken aloud. The subconscious accepts this inner dialogue as reality, and the outer world moves in obedience to it. This practice is not a game of fantasy, it is the education of feeling. When you speak inwardly, speak with faith, not fear. Speak with tenderness, not desperation. The inner conversation is not a plea, it is an assumption of fulfillment. You are not asking for love, you are confirming it. The difference is everything. When you plead, you affirm lack. When you declare, you affirm possession. The subconscious responds only to possession, to that which feels real and complete. Every day, countless thoughts move through the mind, but only those clothed in feeling become flesh. You may repeat loving affirmations, but if they lack the fragrance of belief, they pass away like smoke. Yet a single word spoken with deep feeling reshapes the universe around you. The quality of your inner voice determines the quality of your experience. If your inner speech is filled with doubt, arguments, and longing, you are building a world that mirrors those same vibrations. But if your inner speech is saturated with peace and certainty, you will find the world echoing back harmony and love. To educate yourself in this art, observe your habitual inner talk. Notice what you say to yourself about love, about others, about your worthiness. Do you imagine being rejected, or do you imagine being adored? Do you replay old scenes of disappointment, or do you construct new ones of fulfillment? The mind is loyal to the patterns you impress upon it. If you continue to rehearse failure, it will stage it again and again. But the moment you shift the conversation, the play begins to change. Close your eyes and enter the stillness where imagination reigns. Picture the one you love standing before you. Let their eyes meet yours. Hear their voice filled with affection. Allow yourself to reply with joy, as though the words were real and present. This silent exchange is the true conversation. Repeat it not as a chore, but as a delight. Each time you enter it, let the scene become more vivid, more natural. When it feels real, it is real, and soon, reality will echo it back to you in the perfect time and way. There is no barrier between minds except the one built by doubt. When you speak inwardly, you are sending thought through the invisible channels of consciousness. Those to whom you direct your words feel them, even if they cannot explain how. It may come to them as a sudden thought, a dream, or an impulse to reach out. The bridge between you is built not by effort, but by vibration. You communicate most clearly when your feeling is pure and undistracted by need. Inner conversations must be chosen carefully, for they are the architects of destiny. Many unknowingly create conflict through inner arguments, defending, explaining, blaming, and then wonder why life reflects tension and misunderstanding. The wise replace such dialogues with loving affirmations. They speak gently within. All is well between us. I am loved. I am understood. These words, repeated in quiet faith, dissolve all separation. To maintain the new conversation requires discipline. The old thoughts will attempt to return, whispering the familiar stories of lack and fear. Yet you must stand guard. Each time the old dialogue begins, interrupt it. Replace it with the new. Persist until the new speech becomes natural. This persistence is the mark of mastery. For what you continually think and feel within becomes habitual, and what is habitual becomes visible. To create inner conversations is to take the reins of your creative power. You cease to react to the world and begin to command it. Every loving exchange you imagine is a step toward the visible fulfillment of that love. You are never at the mercy of circumstances when you understand that consciousness is the cause of all things. Speak inwardly as one already fulfilled, already adored, and you will find that those same words return to you, spoken through the lips of the one you love. Thus, train your inner voice to bless, to affirm, to comfort. Let no word of fear or doubt pass unchallenged. Fill the inner chambers of your mind with gentle affirmations of love. Speak to yourself and to others within as beings of affection and harmony. For the world you see tomorrow is being written tonight in the secret language of your inner conversation. To persist in the assumption is to stand unwavering in the invisible truth while the visible world denies it. It is the art of remaining faithful to your inner conviction, even when every outer sign mocks your belief. Many begin with faith but abandon it when results do not come quickly. They pray once, imagine once, feel once, and then look anxiously to the outer world for confirmation. When none appears, they doubt, and by doubting, they undo their own creation. Persistence is the bridge between the unseen desire and its visible fulfillment. It is not a momentary act, but a sustained state of consciousness. A steady flame that continues to burn, regardless of wind or weather. When you assume that you are loved, chosen, or successful, the assumption may at first feel unreal. The senses may contradict you. The evidence of life may seem to speak the opposite. Yet that is the test of your faith. The moment you turn away from appearances and remain loyal to the unseen state, you begin to exercise true creative power. Persistence is not stubbornness of will. It is quiet certainty of knowing. It is the confidence that the seed once planted must grow, though the soil above it appears undisturbed. To persist is to live as though the wish were already fulfilled. It is to carry within you a secret certainty, an invisible joy. You may walk through the same streets, speak to the same people, face the same routines, but inwardly you know that everything is different. You have entered another state of being. This inner knowing must not flicker when results delay. Instead, it must deepen. The longer you remain faithful to it, the more natural it becomes, until at last it hardens into fact. The world outside is but the mirror of your inner state. It cannot resist the power of a sustained assumption. Even the most stubborn appearance must eventually yield to a mind that refuses to be moved. But persistence requires discipline, for the old self will whisper, "It isn't working." The senses will present evidence to the contrary. Friends may remind you of how things used to be. Yet every time you return to your inner knowing, every time you reaffirm your assumption, you rewrite the script of your life. The outer must follow, for consciousness alone creates reality. This is not a battle against the outer world, it is a mastery of the inner one. To persist is to live above appearances. It is to look upon lack and feel abundance, to see distance and feel closeness, to face rejection and feel chosen. When you can maintain that inner state despite contradiction, you have found the secret of transformation. The outer world is slow to move because it is solidified imagination. Like ice, it takes time to melt when exposed to the warmth of new belief. Persistence is the constant heat that eventually dissolves the old and reveals the new. When you persist in an assumption, you are training your subconscious to accept it as truth. The subconscious is impressed not by words, but by feeling repeated over time. Every night before sleep, impress upon it the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Each morning, wake and walk in that feeling, as though it were the most natural thing in the world. This is not pretending, it is educating your mind to dwell in a higher reality. What you repeatedly assume, you become. The assumption that feels most natural to you will always externalize, for the world is but yourself pushed out. Persistence requires patience. Do not measure the delay, do not count the days. Time is not your enemy. What you assume in faith is already accomplished in the invisible realm. The delay you perceive is merely the process by which the unseen solidifies into form. The wise know that feeling precedes fact, so they persist joyfully, knowing the result is certain. Impatience is disbelief in disguise. When you truly know something is yours, you no longer wonder when it will come. You live as though it has already arrived, and that living is the act of persistence. Every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your assumption. When doubt arises, use it as fuel. Let it remind you of your power to choose again. The mind that wavers between faith and fear creates confusion, but the mind that remains steady in its inner conviction becomes magnetic, drawing circumstances that align perfectly with its belief. When you persist, you gather momentum. Each repetition of your inner truth builds an energetic current that nothing can oppose. To persist in the assumption is to love your vision more than you love appearances. It is to be so absorbed in the feeling of fulfillment that no contradiction can disturb your peace. You are not seeking evidence. You are generating it. You are not asking life to give you a sign. You are giving life the command. The world cannot disobey the one who persists in faith, for it is bound by the law of consciousness. Persistence is not effort in the outer sense. It is rest in the inner sense. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing that imagination creates reality. When you truly know this, you stop struggling. You no longer chase results or force appearances. You rest in the awareness of being, and that rest is the greatest creative act. Every seed germinates in stillness, not in struggle. The same is true for your desires. Persist in feeling that it is done, and allow the invisible currents of creation to move without interference. Even when nothing seems to change, remain loyal to your assumption. The invisible work is always taking place. The law never fails. Those who give up before the fruit appears uproot their own garden. But those who remain faithful, even in darkness, find that the light dawns in its appointed hour. What you feel persistently, you will live inevitably. So educate your heart to remain steadfast. Let your assumption become your dwelling place. Live there, breathe there, sleep there. The world will knock upon that door soon enough, bringing with it the evidence of what you have believed. Persistence is the quiet magic of creation, the invisible hand that molds the unseen into the seen, the impossible into the inevitable. To feel their presence within you is to awaken to the truth that separation is only a construct of the senses. The outer world may show you distance, silence, or absence, yet the inner world knows no such boundaries. Everything you love, every person who stirs your heart, already exists within the infinite field of your own consciousness. When you turn inward and feel their nearness, you are not imagining a fantasy. You are aligning with the only reality there is, consciousness itself. The mind that knows how to feel presence transcends time, space, and circumstance. It enters the realm of cause where everything begins. To feel their presence is not to beg for attention or wait for a call. It is to enter the stillness and claim the awareness that they are already here, that the love you seek is breathing quietly within you. The one who masters this feeling understands that imagination is communion. When you close your eyes and bring their image before your mind, when you hear their voice, when you sense the rhythm of their being beside you, you are engaging in the most sacred form of communication. Every feeling, every mental image, every subtle vibration of affection reaches them through the invisible medium of consciousness. You may not see how, but they receive it. Education in this art begins with quiet. The senses are loud. They insist upon what is missing. But the inner ear is subtle. It hears what the heart knows to be true. When you wish to feel their presence, you must become very still. Withdraw from the noise of expectation. Enter the silence and breathe as though you were sharing the same air. Imagine the space around you infused with the warmth of their being. Feel the nearness, not as a hope, but as a certainty. The more real it feels within, the sooner it becomes visible without. When you truly feel someone's presence, you shift your vibration. You are no longer a seeker, you are the one who has found. You no longer yearn for contact, you are living in union. The energy of longing sends out absence. The energy of fulfillment radiates connection. Many fail because they continue to feel lack while trying to visualize abundance. They imagine the person they love, but hold within themselves the vibration of not having. Yet creation answers not to words or pictures, but to feeling. If you feel them near, life must mirror that feeling. It is an unbreakable law. Feeling is not effort, it is surrender. It is the gentle acceptance that what you desire already exists. When you imagine embracing them, you are not pretending. You are remembering the unity that always was. Consciousness has no walls. Every thought you hold of them, every emotion you project, moves through the infinite substance of being and touches them. Even if they are unaware of why, they will feel the magnetic pull of your awareness. This is not manipulation but resonance. You are tuning yourself to the frequency of love, and love, by its nature, attracts itself. There will be moments when the senses protest, when your reason tells you that they are far away, uninterested, or detached. But reason is blind to the unseen currents of imagination. If you allow those outer facts to dominate your inner world, you recreate the same distance over and over. Yet if you persist in feeling their closeness, if you sit quietly and know they are with you, the external conditions must bend to reflect that state. You are never waiting for them, you are summoning them by the law of inner awareness. The act of feeling their presence also refines your energy. It teaches you to release anxiety and replace it with calm expectancy. The more often you dwell in this state, the more it becomes natural. Soon you begin to walk through your day with a sense of unseen companionship. You smile at nothing in particular, because your heart feels full. That fullness radiates outward, and those who cross your path sense it. They respond to it even if they do not understand why. You have entered into harmony with love itself, and all of life moves to meet you there. When practiced faithfully, this art becomes second nature. You can sit in a crowded room and still feel connected. You can wake in the morning and sense their thoughts blending with yours. You can fall asleep each night wrapped in the assurance that love is here now. Every repetition strengthens the pattern in consciousness. The mind and body begin to accept the new reality as fact, and when it feels completely natural, manifestation follows with perfect ease. This feeling state is not merely a psychological trick, it is spiritual law in motion. The unseen world is more real than the visible, for it is the cause behind all form. To feel their presence is to claim dominion over the inner realm. You are saying to creation, "This is my truth." And because creation is obedient to consciousness, it must yield to your conviction. You do not need to chase, persuade, or explain. You only need to feel. There is profound education in this practice, for it teaches you to move beyond dependency. You no longer look outward for reassurance. You become the source of love rather than its beggar. When you feel another's presence within, you discover that the love you thought you sought was never outside you at all. It was the pulse of your own being calling itself by another name. That realization frees you. It makes you powerful, serene, and magnetic. So learn to feel without doubt. Feel their laughter in the quiet of your room. Hear their words of affection in the silence of your mind. See their image in your inner vision until it glows with life. Let the emotion of it wash over you until you no longer wonder whether it is real, because it is real. And as surely as morning follows night, that invisible communion will take form. The outer world will rearrange itself to confirm what you have already claimed in feeling that love is here, that distance is an illusion, and that presence is eternal. To eliminate doubt is to cleanse the channel of creation, for doubt is the only shadow that can dim the light of faith. It is not the outer obstacle that delays manifestation, but the inner hesitation that questions the unseen. Every time the mind entertains uncertainty, it sends out conflicting signals, as though saying both yes and no to the same desire. The creative power within does not judge, it simply reflects. If you are divided within yourself, your world will reflect that division in the form of confusion, delay, or contradiction. Therefore, to manifest anything, love, success, peace, you must remove the double-mindedness that weakens your word. To eliminate doubt is not to force belief, nor to fight fear. It is to understand that doubt is born of ignorance of who you are. When you truly know that consciousness is the only cause, when you recognize that imagination is the substance from which reality emerges, doubt becomes impossible. For who would question the harvest when they have already sown the seed? Doubt only arises when one believes that power lies outside of themselves, in circumstances, in others, in chance. But once you know that your inner state creates your world, you cease to tremble before appearances. You no longer wonder if it will happen, you know it must, for you have already assumed the feeling of its truth. The mind that doubts is the mind that looks outward for assurance. It measures faith by sight, expecting proof before belief. But true creation requires the opposite order, belief first, then proof. The unseen precedes the seen as surely as thought precedes action. To eliminate doubt, you must train yourself to look inward, not outward. Each time you catch yourself seeking evidence, pause and return to the inner conviction that what you desire is already established. Feel it, rest in it. The outer will follow in its perfect sequence. Doubt thrives on attention. The more you feed it with worry, questioning, or analysis, the stronger it becomes. The antidote is silence. When the mind begins to race with questions, when will it happen? How will it happen? What if it doesn't? Do not answer. Still it with the quiet certainty of knowing. Replace the questioning thought with a simple truth. It is done. Repeat that phrase not mechanically, but with calm assurance. Every repetition weakens the hold of uncertainty and strengthens the foundation of faith. To eliminate doubt is also to control imagination. For doubt is not just a thought, it is an image of failure. When you imagine that something might go wrong, When you see in your mind the absence of what you desire, you are unconsciously creating that very condition. The imagination does not discriminate between what is desired and what is feared. It simply gives form to whatever it is impressed with feeling. This is why fear often brings about what one dreads most. The energy of attention is creative. Whatever you give it to grows. To master doubt, therefore, is to master the direction of imagination. Instead of picturing loss, picture fulfillment. Instead of fearing rejection, feel acceptance. When you consistently replace the image of doubt with the image of success, you transform fear into faith. There is an inner discipline required for this work. The senses will always tempt you with appearances that seem contrary to your desire. The mind will whisper, "It isn't happening," or "It's too late." But appearances are the past taking its final bow. They have no power except the one you grant them. When you see something you dislike, do not react. Simply remind yourself that it is the residue of old thinking. The new assumption is already in motion. Hold to it. To eliminate doubt is to deny the authority of appearances. You are not deceived by what seems to be. You are persuaded only by what you know within. Education in this principle comes through practice. Begin with small demonstrations if you must. Choose something simple, a call from a friend, a gesture of kindness, a small opportunity, and assume it has already occurred. Each time it manifests, your confidence will deepen. You will see that the law is exact and unfailing. Eventually, you will no longer doubt even the grandest desires. You will know that creation is not a matter of effort, but of acceptance. The moment you accept an idea as true, it begins to materialize. Doubt is dissolved not by struggle, but by vision. When the picture of fulfillment is clear and alive in your imagination, doubt has no room to exist. You cannot feel both faith and fear at the same time. The stronger feeling always dominates. Therefore, nourish the feeling of certainty until it becomes natural. Speak to yourself as one who already possesses the thing desired. Walk as one who has already received. Let your inner conversations reflect completion, not waiting. The mind that lives in the end has no doubt, because it already sees the promise fulfilled. To eliminate doubt is also to free yourself from the tyranny of time. The moment you say, "Why hasn't it happened yet?" you confess unbelief. Time is merely the measure of your inner conviction. When you are sure, you stop counting days. You know that what you assume inwardly is already accomplished in the eternal now. All waiting is illusion. The harvest comes not by anxious watching, but by resting in faith. The seed knows how to bloom. It requires only trust. When you understand this, peace becomes your natural state. You no longer swing between hope and fear. You live in quiet assurance, knowing that every assumption faithfully persisted in will become visible fact. Doubt loses its power because you see it for what it is, a ghost with no reality of its own. The only reality is your feeling of the wish fulfilled. Hold that feeling. Protect it as a sacred flame. And whenever the wind of doubt blows, do not resist it with panic. Simply shelter your flame in the hands of knowing. To eliminate doubt is the highest education of the soul. It is to stand so firmly in faith that the outer world must bow to your conviction. It is to know that nothing is denied to the one who believes. And belief is not a matter of force or repetition. It is quiet acceptance, the deep inner knowing that what you imagine in love and faith must, by law, become the world you live in. To visualize mutual devotion is to see through the eyes of love before the eyes of the world can confirm it. It is to enter the inner sanctuary of imagination and dwell there until the invisible becomes visible. Every relationship, every connection, every moment of affection you have ever known began as an invisible vibration. A picture held in mind, a feeling cherished in silence, a scene rehearsed in the quiet theater of the soul. The world of form is nothing but crystallized imagination, and the art of visualization is the language through which consciousness speaks its command. To visualize mutual devotion, you must first understand that devotion itself is not something you must earn or attract. It already exists as a state of being within the infinite consciousness. What you call their love or their affection is but the echo of your own inner awareness of being loved. You are not calling love to you. You are awakening it within you, and the outer reflection must follow. When you close your eyes and enter the stillness, you are stepping into the creative workshop of the soul. There, you mold the unseen substance of imagination into form through feeling and vision. Begin by purifying your intention. Do not visualize from need or fear, for those vibrations produce distortion. You cannot see clearly while longing or worrying. The mind must be still, calm, and filled with assurance. Enter the state as one who already possesses what they seek. Feel love not as desire, but as fulfillment. Visualize not from the standpoint of wanting affection, but from the awareness that it already flows naturally between you. This shift of perspective changes everything. You are not asking for devotion, you are beholding it. You are not hoping for connection, you are acknowledging it. Picture the one you love standing before you. See them as radiant, peaceful, and full of affection. Do not imagine them as uncertain or distant. Those images only reproduce separation. Instead, see the light in their eyes as they look at you. Feel their warmth, their ease, their joy in your presence. Hear the tone of their voice as it carries tenderness and admiration. Let the scene be simple. Perhaps the two of you sharing a quiet conversation, a walk, or a moment of laughter. The specific form does not matter. The feeling is what matters. The emotional tone is the message you are sending into the creative depths of consciousness. As you hold this scene in mind, allow it to come alive. The secret of true visualization lies in naturalness. Do not strain or force an image. Simply allow it to unfold as though you were remembering something that already happened. The subconscious does not know the difference between memory and imagination. It responds to what feels real. The more real the scene feels to you, the more swiftly it takes root. When you can look upon this mental picture and feel gratitude rather than yearning, you have succeeded. Gratitude implies possession. Mutual devotion is not created by words or persuasion, it is evoked by vibration. When your imagination radiates love, understanding, and joy, the one you think of receives that signal. You are conversing on a level beyond speech, a telepathic communion where feelings are the language. They begin to think of you with affection, not knowing why. Circumstances conspire to draw you together. The world rearranges itself to confirm the truth you have already lived within. But this visualization must be consistent. You cannot affirm love in the silence of imagination and then deny it in moments of fear. Every time you indulge in worry, jealousy, or impatience, you undo your own creation. The mind must be disciplined to return again and again to the image of harmony and affection. It is not repetition that works the miracle, it is loyalty to the inner vision. When you refuse to betray the picture of love in your imagination, the outer world cannot help but mirror it. In educating yourself to visualize mutual devotion, remember that love is never one-sided. You must feel yourself as the giver and receiver of affection. Imagine not only that they love you, but that you love them. Feel the joy of giving and receiving simultaneously. This harmonizes your inner energy, removing resistance. If you visualize only their devotion to you without feeling your own affection, you create imbalance. But when you feel both, your love for them and their love for you, the image becomes whole. This completeness is irresistible to the subconscious mind. As you practice, you will notice that the scene becomes more vivid. The colors brighten, the sounds deepen, the emotions intensify. You may even sense their presence as though they were truly near. This is the sign that the inner world is preparing its reflection. Do not rush the process. Remain faithful to the picture until it feels natural. Once it feels natural, release it. You do not need to think of it constantly. The seed has been planted. Your work is to remain in the feeling of fulfillment, confident that the unseen power is arranging every detail perfectly. Visualization is not imagination in the ordinary sense. It is the creative act of God within you. Every image impressed upon the subconscious with feeling becomes a command. The outer world is obedient to your inner world. If you imagine discord, you will live discord. If you imagine harmony, you will live harmony. To visualize mutual devotion, therefore, is to take responsibility for your inner pictures. You are not waiting for love to find you. You are painting the portrait of love in consciousness and letting life reproduce it in form. This practice is also an education in patience and faith. There will be moments when the outer world appears unchanged, when the person you visualize behaves contrary to your inner picture. Do not be deceived. The outer world lags behind the inner, just as the echo follows the voice. Persist in your inner harmony, and soon the outer will catch up. The law never fails. To visualize mutual devotion is to live as if love were already established. You speak inwardly as one who is adored. You think as one who is secure. You act as one who is fulfilled. In this way, you create the vibration of completion, and completion must manifest. Every loving scene you imagine is a stone laid in the foundation of your new reality. Build it with patience, decorate it with joy, and fill it with gratitude. For the unseen artist of imagination never forgets a single stroke of your brush, and in due time, the masterpiece of your inner vision will become the world you inhabit. To align energy through gratitude is to awaken to the divine rhythm of fulfillment that already flows through all creation. Gratitude is not merely polite acknowledgement, it is the vibration of completion. It declares that the gift has already been received. When one feels genuine gratitude, they stand in the consciousness of abundance, and the universe can only mirror that state. To live in thankfulness is to live in harmony with the law of creation, for creation responds not to need, but to recognition. The grateful mind is never poor, never anxious, never waiting. It already possesses the invisible reality and therefore draws it swiftly into form. When you express gratitude, you are not hoping for something to come. You are affirming that it already exists. To say, thank you, in advance is to seal your desire in the certainty of its fulfillment. The feeling of gratitude implies possession, and possession in consciousness must produce possession in the outer world. The ungrateful heart delays its own blessing because it continues to dwell in the vibration of lack. It prays for what it does not yet believe it has. But the heart that gives thanks, even before the evidence appears, moves mountains because it has already accepted the unseen as fact. To align your energy through gratitude, begin by realizing that your emotional state is the creative medium through which all things are drawn to you. Energy alignment is not about forcing positivity or pretending to be happy. It is about tuning your inner vibration to the feeling of wholeness and satisfaction. Gratitude naturally aligns you with that state because it focuses the mind on what is already right, already complete, already working in your favor. When you give thanks for the love you desire as though it were already yours, you are harmonizing yourself with that reality. You are saying to the universe, I know it is done. This feeling of completion is magnetic. It gathers to itself every element necessary to make the invisible visible. You will find that the more you practice gratitude, the more life arranges itself in your favor. Opportunities appear, relationships soften, circumstances align. But these are not miracles of chance. They are reflections of the vibration you have chosen to inhabit. Gratitude transforms the state of being from need to fulfillment, and the fulfilled self is always creative. In the quiet of imagination, picture yourself surrounded by the conditions you desire, the love, the peace, the understanding, the companionship. Instead of wishing for it, breathe deeply and whisper within, thank you. Do not say it mechanically, but feel it. Let the emotion rise in your chest until it warms your entire being. That warmth is the signal that you have shifted your vibration. You are no longer asking, you are receiving. The world of form must catch up to that feeling, for feeling is the only substance of reality. When you practice gratitude, you also dissolve resistance. Doubt and fear cannot coexist with genuine thankfulness. The moment you feel grateful, the grip of anxiety loosens. You move from questioning to knowing, from waiting to having. This inner surrender opens the door for the unseen forces of creation to flow freely through you. Gratitude is the key that unlocks every locked door because it declares that nothing is missing. To say, I am thankful, even in the face of lack, is to proclaim your mastery over appearances. You are not deceived by what you see, for you know that feeling precedes form. Educating yourself in this practice requires daily discipline. Each morning, before the noise of the world begins, sit quietly and recall 3 things for which you are thankful. Not only things you have already received, but things you have desired and now accept as done. Feel the joy as though they were already yours. This act trains your mind to dwell in fulfillment. The subconscious accepts this gratitude as a command and begins arranging your world accordingly. Every day you maintain this vibration, you strengthen the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Gratitude also refines perception. It opens your eyes to the good that already surrounds you. What once seemed ordinary begins to shine with quiet beauty. The simple sound of a voice, the warmth of sunlight, the comfort of your home, all become evidence of abundance. When you live in appreciation, you create a current of joy that attracts more to appreciate. Life expands according to your recognition of it. The more grateful you are, the more reasons you will find to be grateful. Those who live without gratitude often chase after results, believing that happiness will come once they possess the thing desired. But happiness is not the result of possession, it is the cause. When you are thankful in advance, the feeling itself becomes the magnet that draws all things to you. You cease to wait for love and begin to live as love. You cease to seek blessings and begin to radiate them. Gratitude transforms you from a seeker into a creator. There is great power in silent thanksgiving. It is not always necessary to speak the words aloud. Sometimes the deepest gratitude is felt in quiet awareness, a still, glowing certainty that all is well. In that silence, you commune with the creative power that animates all life. It listens not to your words, but to your vibration. When your vibration sings the song of thankfulness, creation responds in harmony. Even in moments of challenge, the disciplined soul finds something to thank. Gratitude in difficulty is the highest expression of faith, for it declares that even this will serve your good. Every obstacle contains the seed of blessing, and gratitude waters that seed. To say thank you, when reason sees no cause, is to proclaim your trust in the unseen law that governs all things perfectly. That trust is never betrayed. To align energy through gratitude, then, is to walk through life with the quiet majesty of one who knows that everything is working together for their good. You no longer grasp or struggle. You give thanks, and by giving thanks you receive. Gratitude is the inner song of completion, the vibration that harmonizes you with love, abundance, and joy. When it becomes your natural state, the outer world has no choice but to echo it. To live as the wish fulfilled is to awaken each morning and walk through the day as though every desire were already accomplished. It is not a game of pretending or a temporary daydream. It is the deliberate adoption of the state of fulfillment. The unseen world responds only to what is felt as real, and so the feeling of completion is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. When you live in the end, you no longer strive to make something happen. You are that which you sought to become. Every thought, every action, every word flows naturally from that inner knowing. To live this way, one must first grasp the principle that all states of consciousness exist now. The version of you who has achieved your desire already lives within the infinite imagination. You are not creating something new. You are selecting a state and dwelling there until it becomes natural. The outer world, slow and reflective, eventually conforms to your inner selection. The moment you decide that your desire is already yours, the creative process is complete. What follows in time is simply the unfolding of that choice into form. Education in this truth begins with awareness. Most people move through life identifying with the state of lack, the state of wanting, rather than having. They speak of what they wish for, dream of, or chase, but their feelings remain fixed in absence. And since feeling is the creative substance, absence continues to reproduce itself. To live as the wish fulfilled, you must feel abundance, even while the senses show you emptiness. This requires discipline, for the senses will try to convince you that nothing has changed. But the wise know that appearances are delayed reflections, and that reality begins within. Close your eyes and picture the scene that would exist if your desire were now fulfilled. If it is love you seek, see yourself embraced, cherished, and chosen. If it is success, imagine yourself already celebrated. Let the scene be vivid yet effortless, not forced, but accepted as truth. The mind must feel the naturalness of the fulfilled state. Once you can breathe in that atmosphere without strain, you have entered the creative act. What you imagine in this way is not idle fancy. It is a spiritual cause that must manifest. To live as the wish fulfilled is to carry that feeling into your waking life. You do not simply visualize in the morning and forget by noon. You remain inwardly faithful. When doubts arise, you return to the inner knowing. It is already done. You speak, act, and think as one who possesses the thing desired. You do not look for signs. You know you are the sign. This state of being generates magnetic power, for the world cannot resist the one who feels complete. People, events, and opportunities rearrange themselves to mirror the conviction you hold within. The outer world is obedient to your inner conversation. When you persist in thinking, feeling, and behaving as the fulfilled self, life must answer in kind. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. You are not trying to convince the world. You are simply staying loyal to the unseen truth until it becomes visible. Many fail because they oscillate between two states. One moment they believe, the next they doubt. Each swing resets the process. But when you stand unwavering in the state of fulfillment, even the most stubborn circumstances yield. Living as the wish fulfilled transforms not only what happens around you, but who you become. You begin to notice that your speech changes. The tone of your inner voice softens. You stop asking when and start declaring now. Your imagination becomes fertile ground, and you plant only seeds of joy, confidence, and completion. Every small act, from the way you walk to the way you greet others, carries the signature of fulfillment. You are no longer seeking proof because you are the proof. This way of life requires humility and faith. Humility because you recognize that the creative power does not come from effort but from surrender. Faith because you must accept your desire as real before it appears. The old self will resist. It will whisper that you are deluded, that you must wait and see. But waiting is the language of disbelief. The fulfilled self knows no waiting, for it already is. Time, in truth, is the servant of belief. It only measures the interval between assumption and its revelation. To live this truth is to rise each morning and feel the quiet satisfaction of one who already possesses all things. You do not chase, for chasing implies distance. You do not beg, for begging implies separation. Instead, you inhabit the state of completion, and from that state you act. Each decision, each response is guided by the knowledge that you already have what you sought. In that vibration, effort becomes inspired action. You are moved to do the right thing at the right time, not through strain, but through flow. Even when challenges arise, you remain unmoved. You see them not as threats, but as steps in the unfolding of your assumption. The one who lives as the wish fulfilled never fears delay, for delay is only the shadow of transition. The inner work is done, the outer must follow. This calm assurance is the mark of mastery. You have shifted from the consciousness of wanting to the consciousness of being, and that shift is the entire secret of creation. As you continue in this practice, the feeling of fulfillment becomes second nature. It ceases to be something you do and becomes who you are. You will find that desires manifest with increasing ease, not because the world has changed, but because your inner state has become stable. You live in the vibration of certainty, and certainty commands reality. The unseen forces of life align to serve the one who lives in the end. To live as the wish fulfilled is the highest education of consciousness. It is the recognition that you are the author, not the observer, of your world. You create by being, not by striving. When you inhabit the state of already having, you become one with the thing desired. The outer world is compelled, by law, to express that union. Nothing can resist the consciousness of fulfillment. To live in that awareness is to live in truth. The truth that what you seek has never been missing, for it has always been within you, waiting only for you to assume it as real. When one finally understands the essence behind every teaching of these keynotes, it becomes clear that life is not a series of random events, but a mirror reflecting the state of one's inner world. To assume the state of being loved, to create inner conversations of harmony, to persist in faith, to feel the presence of another within, to eliminate doubt, to visualize mutual devotion, to align energy through gratitude, and to live as the wish fulfilled. Each of these is not a separate practice, but one continuous movement of consciousness. Together they form the complete art of creation, the sacred process through which thought becomes form and imagination becomes experience. The outer world bends to the inner conviction of the one who knows their creative power. Reality is not changed by force, but by feeling, not by striving, but by assuming. Every emotion, every silent thought, every word spoken inwardly contributes to the design of the world you live in. When you master these inner laws, you no longer fear delay, rejection, or uncertainty, for you understand that nothing and no one can oppose the conviction held in the depths of belief. The key is always feeling, the living bridge between the invisible and the visible. Feeling is prayer, imagination is communion, and assumption is the act of creation itself. To live by these principles is to walk in quiet dominion, to move through life with grace, knowing that everything unfolds according to your inner vision. The one who claims love, peace, success, or joy within must see them appear without, for that is the law of consciousness. So let the words settle deep within. You are not waiting for the world to change. The world is waiting for you to assume your rightful place as its creator. Walk now as one who already possesses the life desired. Think from fulfillment, speak from assurance, and act from completion. And as you do, the unseen will take shape before your eyes, confirming what you have always known in the silence of imagination, that creation begins and ends within you.